This week's lessons have to do with the perfect tenses. We use present perfect tense to express an action or condition that occurred at some indefinite time in the past, which is kind of confusing, isn't it? So let's look at the examples, and that might help you. So Daryl has washed his car, or they have paid the insurance premium, or I have driven far today. So it's present perfect because it's indefinite, right? And so you're going to add a has or a have to the tense or to the verb, and that's what's going to give you that present perfect. So the reason why it's considered present is because has and have are present tense auxiliary verbs. The present perfect tense is also used to refer to an action that took place in the indefinite past. So you can't use this tense with adverbs such as yesterday that make the time more specific. It has to be used in an indefinite way. So I have started my report versus Maribel started her report yesterday. If you have the word yesterday, then you can't use that perfect tense. You can also use present perfect tense to indicate that an action or condition that began in the past continues into the present. So you either use it with that indefinite or if it's continuing. So in this case, you should use it with adverbs or phrases that express time, like kind of present, right? So I have kept an account of my expenses for 3 years. That for 3 years is really super important in indicating that it's present perfect and using the present perfect tense, adding that have in there, right? Let's look at this third one. The interest on the account has compounded daily, so the amount has increased day by day. So in this case, right, we explain it. And my bank account has grown, and then throughout the year is that phrase that's going to tell us that we need to use the present perfect tense. Secondarily is the past perfect tense. So we use the past perfect tense to indicate that one past action began and ended before another one began. So you're going to use had found or had as your auxiliary verb that goes with the perfect tense. So if we look at this first sentence, by the time the ticket office opened, a line of 25 people had formed. So notice that getting to the had formed is dependent on this other action by the time the ticket office had opened, right? Let's look at the second one. We had already signed the contract when he arrived. There's that condition again that tells us to use that past perfect. And lastly, Jill dedicated her book to the teacher who had encouraged her long ago. So it's dependent on that other action. So the past perfect tense is going to be dependent on something that already began and ended. Lastly, our future tense. So we use the future tense to express one future action or condition that will begin and end before another will start. Notice again, you have that sort of expectation there. So by December, Sean will have lived here 6 months. Or by the time Michelle gets to college, tuition will have increased substantially. So really think of those perfect tenses as having to depend on another thing happening, or in the case of that present perfect tense, it's more indefinite, right? So an indefinite time in the past. All right. So let's take a look at a few of these sentences. For this first sentence, we have Raphael has studied art for many years. When we look at that, we see that we have the auxiliary or helping verb has, and then we have this ambiguous amount of years, many years. So with those cues, we know that this would be present perfect tense. Our second one here, Bernice had earned $10,000 before she resigned. We notice that resigned is in the past. And since resigned is in the past, we need to use the past auxiliary verb. And so this is past perfect tense, right? We wouldn't say Bernice has earned $10,000 before she resigned. That's weird. We can't do that. We have to use that past tense. Let's take a look at this next one. So by the time Ravi arrived, all the other guests had left. So we have this condition, by the time Ravi arrived. There's that past tense verb there. So we know that over here, we have to use the past perfect verb, had left. We wouldn't again write by the time Ravi arrived, all the other guests has left. That doesn't make any sense. We have to use had. And then lastly, here we have in 2 more laps, she will have run 400 meters. So because it's going to happen in the future, we need to indicate that with our future perfect verb, will, and then have run. Hopefully this explains enough for you to do amazingly on your exercises this week.